Hey, everybody. Oh, I'm being covered by this. Hey, how is everybody doing? Let me give a little sound effect here for everybody for coming. Way to go. You're doing awesome. I've never used these sound effects before, but they're pretty cool. Hey there, Nelco. Hey, Scorpy. How are you? Good to meet all of you. Just be aware, if you send a chat in the message boxes there, I might pull it up on the stream, say hello. Hope that's okay. It's really nice to have other people in the stream, so it's not so lonely while we're up here streaming. But yeah, how's everyone's Global Hack Week going? Anybody want to share an activity or a stream? I think that Ro posted this morning. There was a stream, really, really neat. Always neat to get some perspectives from special guests and things like that. Yes, always with an ad, always. You gotta hype up Global Hack Week for sure. But yeah, I'm glad everything's going well. So today I'm really excited because we're gonna continue along with what we did yesterday, which was low-cost large language models, and we're gonna use a free agent platform called Hermes Agent. And before we get started, I want to share with all of you the check-in link. So I forgot about this in the previous workshop, but you know what? We actually have a way to show a QR code. So if you look at my arrow here, I'm pointing up to the QR code, which is right above me. And I'll paste it in the chat too, the link to check in. And this check-in was really helpful. It helps us know what kind of content folks are interested in seeing. And things like that. So I'm really just excited for us to get started. Has anybody in the chat heard of Hermes Agent before? Anyone? I'll tell you, I learned about this a couple of months ago, and I've tried it ever since. I've been using it. It's really neat. Ayush says no. Demon King says yeah. Great. Looks like we got a mixed audience here of some experts, some beginners. But it's basically going to be a self-improving AI agent with a built-in learning loop. That's kind of how I'm describing it here. We'll check out this this a little bit later, but it's built by this company, Noose Research. I'm not sure how to say that. Noose Research, no US. But it has some neat features. One of them, for example, is self-improvement. So it can learn a new skill from experience. So you can actually record yourself throughout the day doing what you're doing. And it can pick up on things that happen each day, and it can build a skill that executes for you. It can persist knowledge, so it has what's called memories. So it can write memories for you, and then that can work out super well because you don't have to tell it every single time the same things over and over again. And then in that way, it can maybe know you a little bit better. And there might be some folks in the audience who've heard of something called OpenClaw, and I want to just make it clear that this is slightly different than OpenClaw. OpenClaw is very complicated to use compared to Hermes. It's more focused on coding and making edits in a repo or doing developer-related stuff. You can use it for any task that we're going to do today, but it's just a little bit more complicated. But there's a lot of tooling in OpenClaw, a lot of add-ons and plugins and stuff for developer tasks. But this Hermes agent is a lot more geared towards personal assistant type work, inbox, scheduling, replies, stuff like that. And it learns your style as you go. So here's what we're going to build today. We're going to try a few different things, and we're gonna learn some more along the way. I'm going to pull up the slides as a QR code here for you all in case you get lost. You want to check the slides again. Just refresh that QR code above me. It'll give you the slides now. And we're going to learn how to do all these things: read and reply to email. Okay, so we can set up a mail account for it. Search the live web. If any of you have ever used Firecrawl, it's a free service that lets you search the web. Handle voice messages. So I'm going to show you how to get Whisper, which is a voice transcription locally on your computer. So that'll be really neat too. And of course, as advertised, run scheduled tasks, do morning briefing, hourly inbox sweep, weekly summaries, things of that nature. Okay, so let's go ahead and continue along. Here is a brief example of something that Hermes could do. So if you have Hermes installed and you type the word Hermes into your terminal, and the -Z just means you'll give it an inline prompt. And so you could just give it a prompt like a normal chatbot, draft a polite reply to this email. Hey, just following up on this. And it will give you an example. So this is just an example screenshot from my terminal. But before we get to that, we're gonna get some security going, because you don't want to just give it access to all of your emails, your entire inbox. That would not be nice. So we're gonna I want you all to follow what I'm doing here, and in fact, we're gonna set up a fresh email just for Hermes, not our personal email. So I'll walk you all through that as well. I also highly recommend you run it isolated, and I'm going to show you how to do this on DigitalOcean. You might be able to, I'm going to get some music going on too here. You might be able to do it with different examples, on your local computer, but I would only recommend that for examples, for testing. And I would not recommend it for doing dedicated workflows. And you want to scope your credentials, okay? So we want to use API tokens, we want to use OAuth only when we need to, okay? Because OAuth can often be and API keys can be often very permissive and allow a lot of access to your computer. I'm going to give you an example here. Let's say that you build a Hermes bot to trade stocks for you, okay? And you want it to be able to read all of your account positions in your stock account and tell you when things are dropping. Well, you could give it an API key that it can read your positions. But let's say someone gains access to that agent, and the API key is not just read only, but it also is write too. Well, a person could then trade some of these. Could trade against you in really bad positions and take your money. So that's one example. Another example would be if it has the ability to read emails from your inbox, that's one thing. But then if it has the ability to draft a reply, it might send an email to your boss that you might not want to send. So it's all about giving access where you want to, but not where it doesn't need to, if that makes sense. Okay, the last time I made a fresh email, my account was suspended. Yeah, so there's only so not every email provider allows you to do this. There are some email providers that allow Hermes agent, and you can usually just get an idea of that from going online and Googling and stuff like that. I personally think that Gmail has worked for me in the past, but I guess you can also try another one. I tried Proton email, but that didn't work for me. Yeah, so here's what I would recommend, Ayush. I would recommend that you can allow it to make a draft for you, and then you can maybe push send on that. Because the thing is, you want to be able to review that and double check that. And once you give it access to be able to send emails, then it doesn't just have the ability to send emails for a job application. It could send emails for any number of reasons. There's another reason why read only would be bad here, and it's that if you allow it to read your personal main account, let's say that someone's trying to hack into your account. Has anyone ever had this happen where you get a code, like a verification code, 12056 or something like that? You ever get something like this to your Gmail? If you get something like this to your Gmail, and that is supposed to protect you from hackers, what if the hackers have read-only access to your personal mail, right? So that's another reason why we want to use a separate account. Okay, so this is just some examples for you. And again, it's up to you to really secure your computer how you want. But where will Hermes live? I highly recommend a small VPS. So I'm going to set up a VPS with all of you today on DigitalOcean. And the DigitalOcean platform, I believe they give a certain, let's see. Let's see here. I don't think you can use, I don't think they give you any kind of promos right now. There's often free credits that you can get from DigitalOcean at hackathons. So if you want to wait to try this out at a hackathon and get your credits, but just to let you know, the cost of these machines is fixed, so it won't go up or down based on your usage. Once you create the VPS, it just charges you by the hour. And on DigitalOcean, that's about $6 per month. And I'll show you all how to get this going and what kind of computer you'll need to get started. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to show you all what it looks like to get started with this. We're going to use DigitalOcean. Okay, let's see here. Just going to share this tab. And I'll put a link here as well in case anybody else wants to follow along and make their own DigitalOcean VPS. But I'm just going to click on sign up here. And it's going to give me some sign up clues here. I'm going to type in my own DigitalOcean account here so that just off screen, I'm going to log in. And here's my DigitalOcean so far. You know what? I'm actually thinking I might try to use a different account. No, I'm just going to use the one that I have. I don't think it'll be a bad thing. Just don't want to expose anything too bad. So I'm going to show you all what you can do. Here it is. And I'll send a picture of a link to this as well. and you'll see that you can create a droplet. I'm gonna create one. It doesn't really matter. You just want to pick one that's closest to you. And then if you go here, the image should be Ubuntu. That's fine to have the Ubuntu as the image. And then here, you're going to want to choose a relatively inexpensive CPU. You don't need anything super fancy. Just going to go with a normal, I guess actually I'm going to go with 2 gigabytes of RAM. You really do want to use 2 gigabytes of RAM. So I guess it is actually 12 and not $6. But you will not be charged monthly. You'll be charged by the hour. So it's about 2 cents per hour. If you want to spin this down after the workshop's over, you're welcome to do that, and you will not have to spend $12. Yeah, and I have an SSH key here already, but you may have to add your own SSH key to be able to get started. Okay, and so this is the basic structure of how you'll create a droplet. And then when you click on this, it's going to say droplet successfully created. And I don't think I'm exposing anything here, except I might expose the IP, which this server will be gone soon. But what we're doing here, I'm gonna walk you through here. We're provisioning a dedicated computer for this resource, so that what happens on this computer does not affect my personal laptop computer. Okay. Does anybody have any trouble with this so far? Yeah, so these are the IP, this is the IP address of the server. So it is exposed to the internet. And the way that you lock that down is by, I mean, there's many ways you can do this, but the main thing is just by adding some sort of authentication. So that's why I have this SSH going. Okay, and we'll get to the SSH soon. I think I can rename this. Let's just use this IP address. So I'm going to copy this IP address, which is going to be useful to us today. And I'm going to test this out. Okay, here I'm going to test this out for all of you to see, so you can see for yourselves in a new terminal window how to log into this account. Okay, so I'm going to reshare my screen, show all of you the terminal. Okay, so now we're back on my local computer. And I'm going to use SSH. SSH is secure shell. And I'm going to log in as the root user, which is the main user here. And I'm going to log in with this IP address. Okay. And so it's a pretty secure system if you're using SSH. You can also use a password. If DigitalOcean also allows you to use a password, I recommend against that. I think SSH is more safe. But when you paste in your IP address, it'll then bring you into here. Okay, this is a computer running Ubuntu. And Pujan, just a really good question there. Which one do you prefer for deployment, AWS or DigitalOcean? I prefer DigitalOcean because it's simpler to use, in my opinion. But AWS, I understand, is much more popular across businesses, large businesses. It's also, AWS also, I think, offers credits sometimes. So you should look at all of these providers like Google Cloud, AWS, DigitalOcean. They'll all have promos from time to time. that will allow you to basically use their service for free. You still need a credit card attached to it, but yeah, if you can find one that is free, go for it. I'm just using this DigitalOcean because it's what I'm most comfortable with, but great question. Yeah, so let's go ahead and start with Hermes Agent now. And I'm going to bring you to the Hermes website that we're going to check out. I'll paste it into the chat. It's just another adventure for us. And when you get to here, it gives you a really simple way to set up Hermes, okay? So you're going to just click on this install and click copy. And then when we go back into our terminal, we'll just paste that. It's as simple as that. And I'll just hit the enter key. And this is now going to install. And it's using NPM, I believe, to install this program, Hermes. And this is step number 2, which is that clone repo step. We're basically just cloning a giant, GitHub project, Hermes agent. Hermes is actually open source, so anyone can help out with that project. At least I think it is. Let me just double check that. Yeah, it is. And they also make some models too that are designed to go well with their Hermes agent. Still taking a little bit of time. But yeah, how is everybody doing so far on this? Maybe we can take a quick digression to refresh on something we learned in the low-cost LLMs workshop. I remember some of you, who here was from the low-cost LLMs workshop, we learned something really cool about NVIDIA NIM. Okay, I'm going to show you how to get that. Yeah, NVIDIA NIM. So NVIDIA offers free usage, completely free, for certain models. And all you have to do is click Generate API Key. I just pasted the link in the chat if anyone wants to try along with me. And you just type Hermes to give it a name. You can set the expiration date to whatever you want. I guess I'll set mine to 24 hours because it's a demo. But I'll click Generate Key. Here's my giant key. Just click Copy. And if I close this out, oh, I guess it's for testing use only. It's only valid for 13 hours. So you might have to make another key when you run out. But yeah, I haven't had any issues actually. Oh, it's because I said it. I specifically set it to that. Okay. But anyway, that's great. So we have an API key to use. And hold on to that API key, by the way, so that you have it, because we're going to use it later once Hermes is fully installed on our computer. Okay. right, it's still working on Hermes. There's another resource that we can go into if we want to, but first I want to just let you all know that through this NVIDIA platform, there's lots of different models, and you want to when you click on models, you want to click free endpoint, because that'll tell you that it's a, and then you want to click apply. All right, I'll just put that there. And it'll tell you which models you're allowed to use. I click most popular usually, so I can tell what people are using. And this is my preferred model for Hermes. It's Minimax M2.7. So if you click on this here, we can just ask it some questions like, hello. And it will work. One cool thing about the NIM platform is you can actually change the temperature and the maximum number of tokens, things like that. You probably don't want to play with that too much if you're just getting started, but it's kind of a neat thing. And so, yeah, it looks like we're getting pretty close to ready for our setup. So I'm going to go back to the terminal, and I'm going to show you all what it looks like when you're through the initial install for Hermes. Okay. And so, yeah, here we are. And we have a couple of things going on here. So we're allowed to do, let me actually reshare this from, okay, that works better now. Sorry, one of my monitors is a little bit lower resolution than the other ones. Okay, it says, is there a way to connect to an Ollama server? Yes, there is. And I want to actually show you that too. So if you wanted to use Ollama, we would just set up Ollama on the DigitalOcean platform. So you're totally allowed to do that too. You would do it exactly, how I did a curl command to install Hermes via npm. You would do the same thing to install Ollama, and then you would install Hermes. So you would install Ollama first and then Hermes. And I'll show you exactly what I mean. So we're allowed to choose between these two options to set up Hermes. I'm gonna start with this quick setup just so that we get something going quick. And you'll click enter to get quick setup. And here's exactly where that comes into play, where you can do Ollama. So if you scroll all the way down, there's a way to go to Ollama Cloud. And there's also an Ollama Local, which you can do with a custom endpoint. Okay, the question is, what if the Ollama server was on a different machine instead of using a local install of Ollama? That would not be allowed. So, and the reason is because your local computer will not be exposed in that way to the internet. Think about this. What if everybody had the ability to query your computer all the time, and ask it to do stuff for LLM, to ask the LLM questions? But if you wanted to, you could probably point your computer to the internet. And if you expose your computer to the internet, then you would be allowed to, set up your own API key, your own endpoint. But I do not recommend doing that. I instead recommend, if you want to use Ollama, actually probably the best way to do it is probably through Ollama Cloud. Okay, and I think Ollama Cloud has some free tier usage. Let me show you. I'll just show you really quickly how to get there. So on Ollama, you could click on free. You could go to free here. And then when you use your account, you can go up to the settings, and you can get an API key from here. I'm not going to show this because I don't remember whether they expose my API keys or not. But Oh, if it was on the same network, yes, you could do that. And maybe that would actually be a fun thing for us to do at some point. Because then you would just point it to a local host endpoint. You could point it to a local endpoint, a local IP address. Yeah. So let me show you actually what that would look like. So if you know the local IP address of your computer, then you can use this custom endpoint. You would enter, instead of as a URL, you would enter your local endpoint, your local IP address, and then you would have to give permissions on your computer, on the computer that has the Olama model. But yes, you could do that as well. But yeah, these are really cool ideas that you all are playing with. And the advantage of that, that 8-bit Tony is saying, is basically that you would have full security and full privacy over your data. So when you go through any of these other cloud providers, they all have different security policies for your data. So you want to read and understand those if you are sending sensitive information through them. And I tend to not worry too much about it because, again, I'm keeping things pretty locked down. But if you wanted to make sure that, for example, any passwords that you had or any really sensitive information you had just never left your computer, then that could be a really good option. But yeah, so I'm going to choose this NVIDIA NIM. And remember, I told you to paste in that NVIDIA API key. Remember I told you to keep that key, keep track of it, because you'll need it. You would need it later. And this is the later. So I'm going to paste it in. I pasted it, but it just doesn't show. And you can click enter when this base URL shows up. And it'll give you all of the models that you're allowed to use. And remember, not all of these are guaranteed to be free. But I know for a fact Minimax M2.7 is free because we checked on our free endpoints. So I'm going to choose that. Okay. That's basically the #1 hardest thing to do here. So congratulations if you got to this point. Let's do a clap. Great job, everyone. I might use some of my other sound effects. I'm a little afraid. I'm not sure what they do, and I also don't want to annoy you all too much. But yeah, maybe we will have a look at those at some point. Okay, so for the terminal, I recommend just keep along with the current local terminal. And then we're going to set up messaging. And this is another step here. And I have a little bit of explanation about this in the slides too, if you want to take a look. But actually, before we do this, let's skip, because I want to just get to the fun stuff where we're actually testing out our Hermes agent. Okay, so we'll skip for now, and then I will go for it. So we'll click Launch Hermes Chat now. Yes. Just takes a minute, and here we are. So I'm just going to give it a prompt. It always takes a little bit longer this first time, but it comes back with me with an answer. And that's really neat. So, okay, we've now done a bunch of stuff. We've provisioned a VPS from DigitalOcean. We've cloned our Hermes agent. And then now we're getting into configuring it. Got a question from Hey, good Tony, in your opinion, what is better, OpenClaw or Hermes? I prefer Hermes. I was using OpenClaw for a while and it kept breaking, and I had to ask OpenClaw to fix OpenClaw, and I had to keep doing that. I think it was probably built maybe a little bit too fast. That's just my opinion, though. And they're both open source, free open source projects, so the cost is the same. And if you're using free models like this one, then it doesn't matter which one uses more tokens. I have heard that OpenClaw tends to use less tokens, but I'm not sure if that's true. So I prefer Hermes, to answer your question. But yeah, let's keep going here. So I'm just going to say, I'm gonna just show you what it can do. So remember, we gave it local terminal access, right? So I'm going to say, run a Python script that generates the first 100 prime numbers. Okay. This is just as an example for Minimax. So here, it's running a script. And it figured out that the last prime number, number 100 is 541. And I can say save the Python script. And the output into my local computer. And so you can see it's writing, it can write files, it can do stuff like that, and it's put them in my root directories. Now, let me close out of Hermes, and what I can do is I can click Control-C, and now I'm out of Hermes, and I can say ls, which lists all the files, and look at that, there's my Python file, and I can check out my Python file, see the codes that it wrote. I can check out my txt file with all the prime numbers, and it looks pretty good to me. So that is the terminal, but let's try asking it a question like, what is the current price of the S&P 500? I don't think it can do that. Oh, I forgot to go back into Hermes. And we're going to double check its work here. See, it's doing a browser navigation. So it's been at this for about 35 seconds. Okay, let's see. It says that it's near an all-time high. Pretty good day then. And it took 44 seconds here. I guess this command took 37 seconds. All right, I'm going to show another way of searching though, because in this case, what it did was it used the browser navigate tool. And if we go to the Hermes agent website, I'll show you how to understand what it's doing behind the scenes. So we click on the docs here. And there's this features, and there's something called core tools here. And you see it has some abilities to navigate the web and do some kind of web searching. But I want to give it another ability to search. And that's going to come with Firecrawl. Okay, so we're going to try with Firecrawl as well to give it another tool for searching. And I'll paste this into the chat so that you all can check it out. And you're going to sign up for this service. And when you do, it will give you an API key. And the API key can be used to do a number of things. It can be used to search the web, to scrape web, to interact with a scraped page, and to crawl all the pages on a website, and so on. And so this is kind of a neat tool to have in your Hermes agent because it lets you get more full content. And now we're going to set it up in the Hermes bot. Okay, so we have the ability through Hermes to set up Firecrawl. And so here is the back to the docs. I went into the browser and you see that there's all these services on the back end here. And we're going to try it with Firecrawl. So to use Firecrawl as the cloud browser, we're just going to add the API key that we get from the Firecrawl website to our Hermes.env file. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to show you by clicking Control-C in the terminal. And we'll do vi.hermes.env. So this is the way we can access the Hermes.env folder. Now, does anyone here know what .env represents in a code project? I want to say if you know. And I'm just going through this so we can have a look at everything. And here we can hit I. And then we have our Firecrawl API key, which we can put in. And I'm going to put one in here for the demo today. And then we click escape. And then we have it. Okay. And so now we have the ability to use Firecrawl. And if we click on Hermes Setup Tools, which again, this is just from the docs. We can select into browser automation. And we'll click on Firecrawl, which I guess we already added the API key, so I guess it already figured this out. But this is going to give us something different than the local browser, which is what we were using before. Okay. And I'll just click enter to keep the current, and then I'll click done. So now if we go to Hermes, I'll ask it the exact same question. What is the current price of the S&P 500? And if we have a look here, it gives the same answer, but it took 14 seconds. Okay. So we can use, by the way, for Firecrawl, we can use, it said paid, but this is actually free for us to use up to something like 1,000 searches. And there's no need to provide a credit card either. Okay. So that's kind of a neat thing. Okay. So did anybody have any trouble getting this going? Any questions at all before we continue along? All right, looks good so far, says Ape Tony. Awesome. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to wire up our Whisper. Our Whisper tool. So Whisper is a way to send voice notes to your bot. Okay, and so there's several ways to use Whisper. There's ways to use it through an API key in the cloud. And there's also a way to do it locally. So that's where you click this. That's what we'll be doing today is local, so that we can stay on our free theme. So everything we've done today is free except for the VPS, which unfortunately does cost money, but you can test it on your local machine, as we know. And so these are just some basic actions we're going to go through today. Okay, so 3 questions in a row. No problem. We can handle it. Are there ways to combine different APIs or deploy coherent multiple agents on one virtual machine? So OpenClaw, I think, handles multiple agents much better than Hermes. I do not have a lot of experience using Hermes for multiple agent setups. That being said, if you use your local computer, there's many ways to set up multiple agents on one machine. So you can, I've done it before with Gemini CLI. You can spin up Gemini CLIs, a ton of them at once to accomplish something. Let's say that you want to go through every spam message that you've gotten in the past that's gone to your spam folder in the past month, and you want to see if any of them are gonna be something that you really didn't want to miss. Well, you can send 1,000 agents, or you can send 10 agents or 100 agents to look at, each of them will look at 10 days of data. You can use Gemini CLI, you can use Hermes, you can use Copilot. But yeah, I would recommend looking into Gemini CLI, which has been my preferred tool for multi-agent setups. And by the way, when you use Hermes, you can actually, I'll show you something neat here in Hermes. let's see here. Okay. So this is pretty cool. I think y'all will be interested in this. So here, I just pasted it in the chat, the website that we're on now. But one thing you can do in Hermes is you can delegate coding to a certain CLI tool. So you can actually set up a codex agent within Hermes. So you can say, hey, Hermes, I want you to spin up 10 codex agents, and I want them each to cover certain different things. And I want them every morning to review this. One reviews that, one reviews that. So this is my preferred way to work. And the only reason I use Gemini is because it's a little bit cheaper than the GPT model. But you can do this type of thing with any coding agent. So I hope that answers your questions. But yeah, that's a really good question. So thanks for asking. And then 3Vote Tech asks, can I connect this to my Open Router API? You totally can. So let me show you all what that would look like. And I think you're going to like seeing this because it's very simple. So when we're inside of Hermes, we can actually type /config. And it explains to us everything that's happening here. We have our NVIDIA model plugin, our local environment, our agents, and these are all the tools it can use for now. And so if we type Control-C to get out of here, there's something we can do called Hermes Setup. And if you type Hermes Setup and you click Quick Setup, you can go back through this whole process, and you can, instead of choosing NVIDIA NIM, you can choose Open Router. Okay, and then all you would need to do is type in your Open Router API key. So let me make a key for Open Router. Pretty sure I can just create a key that has 0 spend on it, and then we'll just use that because there is free models actually. Okay, I just created a key on my Open Router account, pasted it in. And what's cool about Open Router is they often have some free stuff down here. So let's try this random new model that's in hiding, Owl Alpha. Who knows what that is? We just go through and select everything else for now. And now I'll just say test. And it's working. So there you go. There's an example of how to connect to Open Router API. Great question. And we can stick on our free theme. Oops. Just hang on, bear with me here. I just accidentally turned off my laptop monitor. Yeah, these are all really good questions. I'm so glad that you all are here to ask these good questions, and keep it up because we have more to do. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead now and try this whisper thing, because that's the next step here for us. Yeah, 1 mil context window. Yeah, who knows what they're building here? I certainly have no idea. But let's see, actually. Let's see if that Owl Alpha is popular on Open Router. We learned this in the low-cost LLMs workshop, remember. Yeah, it looks kind of popular. You can see it's actually sitting right above GPT 5.5, probably because it's free. People love free stuff. But yeah, so let's go ahead and keep going. So we're going to install on our local computer. And I'll show you what that looks like. Because right now we're in our Hermes VPS, but I'll show you what it looks like to install on your local computer. So I'm going back into my local computer here, and I'm going to use the command brew install whisper CPP. Okay. So it's going to install. It says on mine, it says it's already installed, which is true. So that seems to work fine. But then we can type in something like make a directory for the Whisper models. And I've already created this, so I'm just going to go into it. And if we type ls, I already have this model in here. And I'll paste a command into the chat that you all can use to download this model. It's just a simple curl command. And then I'm going to make an input audio just for some temporary voice note. I don't know if it can do 2 plus 2. I'll just do 2 plus 2. And once I do that, it creates a temporary voice note for me. Whisper actually needs a WAV file. So I'm going to type in to the chat what you can do to convert this into a WAV file. And I'll paste it in my terminal too, so you can see. I actually need to call it voice note test. Sorry, I'm just reading my notes here so that we don't get lost. Okay. And then I can ask it to transcribe what was said. So let's actually, I'm going to move it into my desktop because I want to see what it sounds like. It should sound like something. Okay, let's open it up and see. what it sounds like. I have QuickTime Player.
Hey, Hermes, what is 2 plus 2?
Okay.
Hey, Hermes, what is 2 plus 2?
So I don't know if you all can hear that, but you should be, I think you should be able to hear that. So it asks Hermes, what's 2 plus 2? We could also just record something on our iPhone or anything else, but this is just a test. Yeah, cool. Oh, great. Yeah, great that you can hear that. And so I'm going to ask Hermes, I'm going to ask Whisper to translate this. And so we'll give it this command. I'm going to paste it into the chat, a command we can use. Let me put this into terminal. And again, I called it voice note test. And that should have worked. So let's see if it worked. Okay. Didn't quite work. It thought I said, what's on my calendar this afternoon? But you get the idea that it can do transcription. Oh, awesome. No problem. Thanks for joining, Umi King. Great to see you. Definitely get some sleep. Sleep's very important for everybody. Okay, so we got our voice situation going. And we can set this up with Hermes as well. And so let me give you an idea of, now that we've kind of walked through this and we've figured out how this works, basically. You can install a bigger model as well if you wanted something like more intense. We're going to set up messaging so that we can talk to our Hermes agent. Okay. And so this is the next step, and I have a slide for it as well. Now that we've figured out what it looks like to have transcription. And we're going to use what's called Telegram. Okay. So how many of you have a Telegram account? Anybody here? Send a message if you use Telegram. Routing voice messages. Yeah, so basically I think that's what we're going to try to do today. I think we can get it to work. But yeah, we're gonna start with this. Oops. It's called BotFather. And so hopefully you all have a Telegram already. If you don't have a Telegram, it's okay. You're going to start a chat with this bot father user. Okay, let me just show you what it should look like when you get to your side. So you should be able to type into your Telegram the word bot father. And there's a lot of spam on Telegram. I don't know any of these accounts. And a lot of them are just trying to scam you. So make sure that the bot father account that you have is having a purple checkbox. Okay. And so what you want to do is start a messaging session with bot father. And so you'll click start. And bot father can help you make a Telegram bot. Okay. So I'm going to start by telling it the command new bot, which is this top command here. And let's think of a way to name this bot. How about we call it Hermes Agent Global Hack Week. I wonder if that is allowed. Let's see. Oh, looks good. Okay. Now we need a username for it. So let's call it Hermes Agent Global Hack Week bot. All right, here's our token. So I'm going to grab this token and use it in our Hermes agent setup. And by the way, anyone can message this bot. So you're going to want to make a Telegram allowed user in Hermes. And I'm going to show you how to do that, but I don't want to expose my Telegram ID. So I won't quite get that set up just yet, but we'll take a look at our terminal and we'll get some of this started up. Okay, so we're back in our terminal. I'm going to Control-C out of here. I'm going to type Hermes setup. Or actually, I think it's gateway restart. No, I guess it is Hermes setup. So just type Hermes setup. We'll go through Open Router. We already have it done. I'm going to just say no, don't need another credential or anything. Our text-to-speech provider. In this case, we're not using any local. We're using this free cloud-based case. There's also a local on-device, but which would be similar to what we did with Whisper, but we'll just use this service here. Keep our local terminal. I'm not sure why we have to go through so much here. Okay, here we are in messaging platforms. So now we're in the messaging platforms, and I want to configure Telegram first. And so it should be here. Okay, I'm not sure about that, but oh, Hermes gateway. If you look here, it says start a messaging gateway here. So I guess we need to do that. So let's type Hermes gateway. I think that's what we need to do now that we've enabled Telegram. All right, I guess that didn't work as well as I wanted it to. So let's close out of here. And we're going to go back into our Hermes environment file. We should have a Telegram bot key that we can add somewhere. Okay, here's going to be the bot token. So I clicked I to edit here. Paste in my bot token. Save. And we should be able to now do this. Let me try Hermes gateway restart. Let's see if it picks that up. Okay, it says we need this command. Never saw that, but let's try it. It seems to have done something. Okay, so I guess now it's set up in some way. So we should be able to now go into our Telegram. Let's give it a shot. So if we click on this, brings us to the Hermes agent, Global Hack Week, click start. And then it gives us this pairing code, which is pretty cool. So I copied this code to the clipboard, and it tells me what I should do. Ask the bot owner to run this. So I say, okay, I'll run that. Let's have a look here. Oh, and I have to type gateway allow all users, so I'm going to do that as well. Okay, so it recognized me. And now we can continue here. So let's type, for example, our Hermes gateway restart. See what this does. Should let us go through it. And let's try it again. Give it a test. Okay. Why not? We can set home. Okay, so Telegram has now responded to me. So I'm going to give it a message here. I don't know if this will work, but let's just try it. Allow microphone. Actually, I'm going to use my, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my phone, because I think if I use my phone, it'll work better. That way I don't have to disconnect the microphone from the stream. Okay, here I go. I'm going to try to give it a message. Can you please tell me if there are any holidays today around the world? Okay, I just sent it that voice message. So I asked it if there's any holidays around the world today. And once you see these two check boxes, that means that it has received your message. And look at that. It started a web search for holidays today, searching using that fire crawl API key that we talked about, that we put in. And here's what it gave us back. Here are all the holidays being observed today around the world. Quite a mix. Lots of victory days. I didn't realize that it was International Victory Day. But that is very interesting, and some fun ones too. Cupcake Day, apparently. I've never heard of Cupcake Day. But yeah, so there is an idea. In a question, is this project the same as OpenClaw? It's a very similar use case, yes. So it's very similar to OpenClaw. The only difference is, and I did show this earlier, but I'll just go back to this really quickly. There's a few key differences. So OpenClaw is built more as a coding tool rather than a personal assistant tool, although it can be used for both cases, but they're both open source, they're both free to use. So they have a lot of similarities as well. Okay, and so now I'm gonna show you some really neat stuff in the terminal. So we'll go back to our Hermes agent. Yeah, no problem. Well, let's actually stay in the Telegram side because I kind of like being in the Telegram side a little bit. Okay. So on this account, let's just say we're gonna give it some things for us to do. So I want it to tell me, please remind me to lock the doors and turn off the stove every night before I go to sleep. It seems like a good thing to do at the end of the day. And what it's going to set up for us is called a cron job. Okay. And so cron jobs run every at a set point of time, and it's actually using its clarify tool to ask me what time I would like the nightly what I would like it to be. I guess I didn't really respond, so it kind of picked 10 p.m. But it could be adjusted. Oh boy. I guess we ran out of open router. Maybe it wasn't such a good idea to use this OWL alpha. But we know how to fix this. We know how to fix this because we can go to our Hermes agent and we can get everything reconfigured. So yeah, unfortunately, we ran out of OWL alpha credits. And that's one of the reasons why I like the NVIDIA setup instead, because you don't really run into that problem. I have it keep the rel. And I forget which one we were using. I think we were using Minimax 2.7. Yeah, that's always my favorite one for this type of stuff. Oh yeah, so self-improving. Let me go back to that. I was just there a minute ago. Okay. I was just here a minute ago, so I'm just going to go back through really quickly. And then I'll show you what that looks like. But before we get there, I just want to try this again. Say, remind me. Off the stove or bed. Hopefully this works. Okay, NVIDIA free endpoints. How do you not run into rate limits using NVIDIA? Yes, so it's what they call a free endpoint. So let me, I had just shown this on the stream a minute ago, but I'll send it to you again in case folks didn't get it. And maybe we'll go back over it really quickly. But the short end of the spiel is that NVIDIA offers 40 requests every minute, unlimited, on certain models. So, and this has like been my favorite thing that I've found. So you go to their page and you select free endpoint. And the best one in, wait. Oh yeah, you have to click apply on here. Click apply. Once you click apply, it'll show all of the free endpoints, and you can see that Minimax M2.7 is a free model. So you can just type into it, what's the largest country on Earth? And it can tell you things. And so you can't do more than 40 requests per minute, but if you are hitting that on Hermes, I would be really amazed. Yeah, I'm curious though, Shinra, do you run into rate limits? Because what are you using it for? I'd be curious to know if you're hitting rate limits. Because I'll just go back to this terminal here, and you'll see that even though the open router hit a rate limit, the Minimax didn't. And so it set that in. And I'm going to ask it, what are your current skills and memories? Summarize them for me. This is always kind of fun, because you can get a picture of what it has on you. Yeah, so over time, it will write new memories for you. It will write new skills. Once you fill up these context windows, it will save that for future sessions, or if you ask it to make a memory. So I'm gonna say, name Stephen, you are part of an on-stream demo. Please take note. So have a look. It's going to remember that. Okay. Oh, it says I'm part of an on-stream now. That's funny. Oh yeah. So Weber says alarm wasn't saved. I'm not so sure. Let's ask it. What are your current cron jobs? Yeah, so these are our cron jobs. And say, send me a Telegram text every 2 minutes, reminding me to check the stove. That I think would be a little annoying, but let's just try it. We'll see what happens. I haven't tested for 1 hour meetings, but oh, I missed one. Discord meetings, pain to always know what we talk about, so I've used Craig, a tool to record meetings. Cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's great that you don't have rate limits. Yeah, NVIDIA has an amazing level of resources available for free. Okay, so it's going to send me a reminder every 2 minutes. I'm going to say, can you send me a test reminder right now? Hopefully they don't shut it down. Yeah, I hope so too. I think it benefits them to have this. But you could be wrong. You could be right. In what way advertising? Yeah. Just well, and to build out the AI ecosystem, because if we're all using these tools, then we need more computers, right? We need more GPUs if we're using LLMs. So it just encourages everybody to use LLMs as much as possible. You know, it's not working. Oh, strange. Just going to ask it to check on this because oh, I think I need to restart that. That's that gateway, because the gateway is all messed up now. Okay, I just in my terminal, I didn't show it on screen, but I said Hermes gateway restart. So let's try again. My darn open router problem. Oh, okay. Well, I guess it finally got through from the open router problems we were having. I hope that whoever it was earlier is not using open router anymore, unless you have some kind of, you can actually have a little bit of a higher free limit if you have a balance. So if you have some kind of balance on open router, then it might work. Okay. Let's see if this does something. Yeah, I remember when I used to have a I used to love to build gaming PCs with my brother back in the day. We would have a lot of fun doing that. And while we wait for this to happen, I want to show you all some other resource that I think will be really useful to you as you go through your Hermes journey. Oh, I guess there's no way to set a reminder that frequent. So maybe we'll give up on that for now, but let me just show you this because it's really neat. So I'm back on the Hermes page here, and we're gonna have a look at some of these skills that they have. I actually think it's, let me see if I can find it here. Skills system, maybe? Yeah, so there's one cool thing that you can do, which is to add new skills to your Hermes. And so here's some interesting examples that they give you. Let me put this in my other screen so it's a little bit higher resolution. Give it a 5-minute interval. But yeah, so here's just a few examples of some skills that it can do, like plan, for example. And let's take a look at the external skill directories. And you can add more skills outside of Hermes. I'll show you another thing that's neat. Plugins. So you can add plugins to your Hermes agent. And then integrations is another really neat thing to look at. When you look at MCP servers, does anybody here have experience with MCP servers? Maybe we'll try to add GitHub integration into Hermes. No, I actually don't know if we have time to do that. We're kind of running low on time. But yeah, does anybody have experience integrating MCPs? Yeah, it is fun. It's kind of a cool thing. You can make them for your GitHub. You can make them for your, your like a Kanban productivity tool. You can do really whatever you want with them. Let me show you another neat thing here. trying to find this. Oh, here it is. Yeah, this is really neat. I like to use this. You can just search for Hermes plugins, but this is just one example of a skill that I like. It's called Archive Skill. And it can do things like search for papers, get a paper, read its abstract, read the full paper. So you can ask it to do things like, let me give you an example here. Take care, Glibro. Thanks for joining. It was really great to have you in the chat. And an experience evolving with an agent evolving towards something you didn't expect. Yeah, that happens pretty commonly. I think that if you use it for too long and you don't keep track of it, it will add on all kinds of stuff. But the thing with Hermes is it tends to self-improve. And what I mean by that is it tends to self-maintain a little bit better than OpenClaw. So I think it's a little bit better from that perspective. But yeah, it's definitely something to watch out for. But thanks for joining. Okay, so I'm going to give it, now that my cron jobs have gone, I'm going to give it another task, which is going to be so it's going to check this skill, this archive skill. Oh, you might not see it because I just sent it on this big, crazy journey. So I wouldn't, I wouldn't stick around. But yeah, maybe if it finishes its archive search fast enough, it will. Okay, I'm just going to allow it to do this because maybe that's not the best thing to do, but I'm just allowing it to go through with its archive search. Yeah, I know. Seeing it generate is very, very pleasing. I totally agree. It seems like it might be a little bit stuck here. I did ask it for a very particular thing. I'm not even sure if it's possible to find everything that's been published in the last hour. I'm not sure if that's a search that it can do. Is there anything we can do to reduce the response time? That's a good question. So there's a few things you can do. You can get a bigger computer, which will process faster. You can also pay for an LLM. And if you pay for one, then it will have a faster response time. And then there was something we did earlier. which was to switch from local browser to Firecrawl. And if you'll recall, or if you weren't here, you can rewind and you'll see that that cut a huge amount of time off of our searching. Because when you're searching with local browser, it will literally open up the browser and it'll click around to navigate. Wow. I guess there's a lot of papers from today. 4 out of 90. Yeah, and I mean, you could just have it do this every morning when you wake up and you could have a new paper to read, which would be kind of cool. Well, how about this? I think maybe we'll let it go. I'm going to set this up as a cron job so that it runs overnight tomorrow. And then we're going to have a second workshop of this. And it's going to be part 2 of the Hermes agent. And we're going to learn a little bit. We're going to connect it up to our email. Well, we're going to connect it up to its own email inbox. And I'm going to show you some tips on that. And when we do that, you all can see what you think. Of the archive thing. And I'm going to send a link to the check-in. Remember to check into this workshop. Please do before you leave. In the top left corner, there's a QR code. But for part 2, the check-in is here, and it's same time, same exact time as tomorrow. Same time tomorrow. And after this workshop, we have one with Jocelyn, which is using a local LLM on your own hardware, which will be awesome. So thanks for joining. Thanks, Melko, for the positive MLH vibes. Thanks, everyone. See you tomorrow. And we'll be here. Oh, a perfect reminder at the end. Don't forget to turn off the stove. That's a good message for everybody. Don't forget to turn off your stove. All right. See ya.